Steel Curtain Network.
¡Por Jorgito! ¡Touchdown! Najee Harris! DJ Watt!
What is up, Steeler fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I am Jeff Hartman, one of the three always on the show. Dave Schofield and Brian Davis join me. Dave, what's up?
Hey, not too much, Jeff. Just chugging along every day we get through with until training camp is one less day to wait for it, but don't want to wish it away. But you want a silver lining, there it is.
All right, Brian Davis, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, fellas. As you can tell, I am in a hotel room. I'm away from home, and it's funny. Doesn't matter where you go, you find a Steeler fan, you find a couple of them, and they're just as excited as always. So that makes me feel blessed to be a Pittsburgh Steeler fan and be blessed that I could talk about it every single week with my buds.
Had they heard about our podcast platform, those guys you ran into?
Yeah. Actually, oh my gosh, I have so many interesting things have happened. The one guy has heard about us. The other guy is a Broncos fan and listens to Mile High Broncos from Fans First Sports Network. So it's really good to see one girl. I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. One woman that I met from California, she went to SMU. One of her best friends is Cortland Sutton. And I said, hey, text him and let him know that, since the Aiyuk stuff's kind of going crazy, that he needs to get ready to come to Pittsburgh.
Oh, you said SMU. I thought it was going to be Bryson Deshaun.
He has not texted her back yet, but I'm sure he will.
Well, since you brought up Brandon Aiyuk, I wanted to start we're going to talk all about how all eyes will be on the Steelers here in 2024 and for a variety of reasons. And so I wanted to give Brian a chance because I don't think he's had the opportunity to kind of digest and to give his thoughts on the report that Dave and I covered on Wednesday afternoon, our Source podcast, which talked about how the Steelers' interest in Brandon Aiyuk is definitely waning for a lot of reasons. If you missed it, go check it out on our audio-only feed. Wherever you get your podcast, search Steelers or Steel Curtain Network, you'll find it. Brian, what was your take on that report?
Guys, where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you were boiling hot on a guy and you were feeling, all right, this is the direction we want to go, and you see some things that you're not quite sure about, and it seems like you're courting a malcontent. It's like when you're dating somebody and you go out, maybe before you date them, you're in a crowd. She or he seems awesome, but you notice they get a little wild. They want to fight the bouncer. They want to fight somebody out, like fight another girl that looks you the wrong way. Then when you see all that stuff, red flags, my gosh, they get brighter and brighter and brighter as things go. And there's a time when you say, yeah, I don't think I want to go down that avenue.
So is that where you are at this point, Brian? Like, you're just kind of like, let's just stay away.
Yeah, because because the minute there's trouble in Pittsburgh, the minute that George Pickens is getting more balls, more targets, then there's going to be a problem, and he's not going to have a trouble sharing it on social media. The way this locker room is constructed right now, the way things are changing, the way the culture seems like a team atmosphere right now, you don't want to mess with that. And so right now, I'm content to go elsewhere. I think he's a fantastic player, but I still go back to the fact that he only had 3 touchdowns after week 1 against the Steelers.
That's interesting. Good point. Now, Dave, you and I did the show on Wednesday, but I wanted to see if anything else had resonated since we recorded about this whole process, procedure, or situation.
Yes. And that is this. Whether it be our wonderful listeners, especially those in the live chat who could actually give feedback, or our great readers at steelcurtainnetwork.com, a lot of them are very level-headed about stuff, and they weren't just the passive Steelers fans. Oh no, this is what they need to do. They're like, it doesn't make sense to give up both the trade capital and have to pay so much money I talked about it with my brother on Tuesday night and everything else. And so many, realistic, really diehard Steelers fans get that. Those of you that are listening to this Steelers podcast in June are probably the ones that get that. They're like, man, to have to trade away stuff and have to then try to pay that salary and everything else, that alone doesn't make much sense. Then you add some question marks with the person's behavior, then it's all kind of coming together that it just isn't the right move for what we are believing that it would be for. So it doesn't mean the Steelers need to be done either here or other places with trying to make moves of this nature, but just really be smart about it. Don't sell the farm for something that you're not completely sold on.
So, yeah, you all make great points, and I'm not disputing any of those points. But the one thing that I took away is, as I thought about it, and as the dust settled, and after I got ridiculed on social media for just doing what we do, I thought to myself, we're missing the bigger picture here, in my opinion. The bigger picture is that the Steelers are still trying to make a move.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone's saying like, oh, well, I really wanted Aiyuk. Okay, that's great. They're still interested in bringing in a player. If you think for a second the Steelers are just going to sit on their hands and they're not going to make any moves until training camp, could it happen? Sure. Are they still doing their diligence? Absolutely. So this team is, I guess, from the way that Omar Khan is trying to construct it, they're an unfinished product. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that they're still trying to make moves. They're not done. Maybe this is the roster that goes into the cut downs from 90 to 53 and then turns into their week 1 roster. Maybe, I don't know, but that doesn't mean that they're not trying. They are still out there trying to make moves. Dave, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, yes, I don't know that Omar Khan sleeps. I think Bad might have even said that before. Don't know if the guy's, he's always willing to look into something to see if it's something that makes sense to make the team better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not doing stuff out of desperation. That's what you don't need now. Don't do anything out of desperation, because that's not going to help long-term either. So that's why sit back, let the con man cook. If something great comes around that they can improve the roster easily, go for it. And if it doesn't pan out, things not panning out sometimes are the better things. In the words of the great Garth Brooks,
I knew you were going there.
Thank God for unanswered prayers.
It's just like that loss in Cleveland, right? Turned out. Bryan, any final thoughts on? Any final thoughts on the Aiyuk situation?
Yeah, first thing is I want to go back and quote the great Duke from Rocky, the original Rocky movie. He's just not right for us, baby. He's just not right for us, baby. So I kind of feel that way. I love the fact, Jeff, that you brought up the fact that they're still looking to do things. And they kind of know exactly where they want to go. They kind of know who they want to bring in. But the bottom line to the whole thing is they do not need DK Metcalf. They don't need a superstar. They don't need they need a number 2 receiver. And that's all they need. So it doesn't have to be as blockbuster as people think. So I'm feeling you get the proper number 2 in there, with the fact, and we've talked about this on Steel Curtain Network a lot over the last month, with the caveat that Pat Freiermuth is going to be a number 2 option as well. He could be your number 2 wide receiver, but I just kind of feel that you're going to be in a situation where there's going to be a lot of competent guys catching footballs, but that number 2 puts you in the equation. And I think they could get him.
Yeah. We'll see how that plans out. Speaking of all eyes on the Steelers, I do want to ask you all what your thoughts are on Hard Knocks selecting the AFC North. And everyone's saying it's a conspiracy theory. To me, it's not a conspiracy theory. The NFL admitted they knew they gave the Steelers all their division games in the back half. And it's not a shock that they choose the AFC North to be highlighted in the back half of the season. So, Dave, I want to give you an opportunity to let us know what your thoughts are on the Steelers and the Hard Knocks and the division approach.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are excited about it. Some people, they're indifferent. I'm definitely in the indifferent camp. I have never watched an episode. I have no desire to watch an episode. And even if it being the Steelers, I probably still won't watch an episode. I do believe that's why they put those things. I kept wanting to go and look. I'm pretty sure that there's at least one AFC North matchup of any teams throughout that time. Does that make sense? I'd have to double check. I mean, that's why there's a lot of Steelers matchups in there. I just think they try to have all of them kind of going, I don't know that there'll be a week that there's not an AFC North game. There might be one in there, but that's one thing I do want to check on. But to me, as I said before, is being on Hard Knocks going to help the Pittsburgh Steelers win a football game? I do not believe it will. Could it hurt them? Probably not, but you could say maybe someone can glean something from the show. Maybe they can, but I doubt it. Could it maybe help them for the future to have other players even more want to flock to play for Mike Tomlin? Perhaps, but it's not like it's something that's going to increase the Steelers' odds of winning games this season. So that's why I'm indifferent to it.
All right, Bryan, you did get a chance to talk about this on your bad language this week, but I want to give you a floor to give your thoughts after the news has settled a little bit.
Dave, I love you with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns, but I think you are absolutely ridiculously crazy when you say you will not watch this show, because I have been watching this show since 2000.
I don't get the channel. Can't watch something I don't have.
I have the subscription. Dave, I got you.
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you. Go ahead.
Uncle Bryan always takes care of you, Dave. Don't worry about that. Now, so here's the deal. I saw it when the Ravens were in it. I was jealous when the Ravens were in it in 2001 after they won their championship. And I absolutely love this show. It is, if you're a fan of any team, and I've been banging the table. You guys have been like, nah, we don't need it. We don't need it. I've been banging the table for this. I partied. Food tasted better that night after I got the news. I mean, everything. See, the sun was brighter. I was so excited because this is peeling back the fourth. I know there's been talk on the Slack channel. Don't overuse the fourth wall. I'm using the fourth wall. When you get to see inside a Mike Tomlin meeting, you get to see who these guys are, and you get to see everything you want about them. If you love behind the scenes stuff, Dave, have you ever watched a DVD with a director's commentary on it?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the making of Attack of the Clones or something like that?
Attack of the Clones. You had to go with that one, huh?
Yeah. Well,
yes.
You know what I'm talking about. You watch all that stuff. Yeah, man, I want to see how the cake is baked. I want to see why that soup tastes so good. I want to see why I'm so passionate about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. So will it benefit them? Yes, it's going to benefit them, but not in winning games. But it's going to benefit them as far as the world knowing what we've got here in Pittsburgh. It's also going to take some fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers that are negative and see what's going on there and feel so much better about their team. And you know what? I said this, it was the name of the show the other day. A distraction is only a distraction if you make it a distraction. The Steelers are set up. They've got the infrastructure for it not to be a distraction for them. So my gosh, this is going to be, I am going to be tuned in like crazy. And guess what? It premieres December 3rd. You know what December 3rd is? My birthday. Happy birthday to me. If you want to take me to Arby's or Applebee's, I ain't going. I'm watching Hard Knocks.
That's interesting. We had two sides of the fence there. But for me, unless I'm not correct here, and I might not be, Bryan, you might know. Last I remember, every NFL team gets to preview what is collected by HBO,
Yes.
and they get a chance to say, this is okay, this is not okay. Like, you're not putting this on the air, which made the whole Cleveland Browns Hard Knocks that much funnier when Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley got into that huge argument in the meeting and coaches got up and left. And they said, yeah, just go ahead and run it. Like, they didn't say, kick it. So that tells me if Mike Tomlin has a say over what's put out there, you're not going to see many meetings. You're going to see what you see on The Standard, which is their YouTube show that they kind of give you a behind the scenes look. You're going to get Mike Tomlin talking to the team in its entirety. And you're going to talk. It's going to be great for his image. I mean, the people like Rich Eisen are just going to goo and gaga all over this stuff because, well, Steeler fans have seen this. Like, and Mike Tomlin is a master motivator. No one is going to deny that. But I don't think you're going to get to see intricate meetings. I'm going to give you a comparison, Brian. I know you'll know what this is. I'm not sure, Dave, if you will get this comparison. And that was the lead up to the Winter Classic in, correct me if I'm 2011, maybe
10 or 11. Yeah, I think it was 11, New Year's Day of 11, I think.
Pens, caps, and they did this whole run up on HBO leading up to that game. And it was, I mean, the game itself was just awesome, but the lead up was electric. And you had the caps and pens playing each other, and they were highlighting the coaches talking in between periods. I think that's the type of stuff you're going to get. And if that's what it is, I'll love it. I'm not a huge fan of just watching random teams, but I'm not going to sit here and also say that the Steelers aren't on, that I'm not going to eat it up because it's going to be entertaining. And I'm going to be interested in, I'm also going to be curious, like someone like TJ Watt. They're going to want to interview TJ Watt. I can see TJ Watt sitting there with a smug look on his face, just basically answering yes or no. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that turns into. But I think it's going to be, interesting. We'll put it that way.
So I'm going to jump in real quick.
Go ahead, bro.
It's not like testimonial interviews like you would see in a documentary. It's a lot of candid stuff. Yes, Mike Tomlin and the team, they're going to have veto power, but they're also going to allow, this is a deal between the NFL, the team, and HBO. You still have to have compelling stuff.
Yeah.
So they're going to give and take, but no, you're not going to see strategy being ruined, but you're just going to see a lot more than you think you would. And Mike Tomlin will allow some stuff because it'll be stuff that won't hurt the team, but they'll talk about so many other things. If you get a chance, Dave, I'll even send you the code. Go back. I mean, the Cleveland Browns one was actually awesome. It was, they will show players in their homes. They will show, wives. It is the epitome of the triumph of the human athlete and spirit. It's exactly what that is. It showcases them. Why this is going to be better than a regular Hard Knocks, though, is because you don't have a guy that's not going to make the team. Hopefully making the team. This is going to be December football when the stakes are high, and you're going to see the human side of 4 NFL teams. And I'm willing to put money on it that not because of veto power, but the Pittsburgh Steelers come off better than anybody because they are more mature of a team. We found out in January in Kansas City how immature the Baltimore Ravens can get, and how that showcase could just knock them down, how they're not ready for prime time. And you're going to see, oh my gosh, you're going to see the train wreck that's the Cleveland Browns and the lack of discipline that's the Cincinnati Bengals. And then you're going to see the epitome of professionalism, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is if it's going to do damage to any team, it's going to do less damage to the Pittsburgh Steelers than anybody because they're the odds-on favorite for professionalism.
Dave, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably helpful for HBO that they're doing the entire division, and that way that Mike Tomlin could just continue to not give them anything, and they're just not sitting there searching. My biggest thing is, how much does it change how they prepare and what they're doing because the cameras are there?
Nothing.
Do you think Mike Tomlin speaks to a player the same way he would speak to him if the cameras were or weren't there? I'm
Yes.
not, I wholeheartedly disagree with you. How I speak in front of this camera versus how I speak otherwise is not the same because the camera's on. And that's what you're going to be looking at. And that's what that's what you have been looking at. You're looking at a production as more than what you think than what you're looking at real life.
I love that you say that. Now, let me throw this out. And this is not to be an argument because I respect you completely. But think about this. How many times have NFL films gone and mic'd up a coach on the sideline and they don't edit a darn thing? The coaches, they know they're mic'd up. They don't change anything for it.
Do they? Or do they know that they're mic'd up versus when they're not mic'd up?
In the heat of the moment, you're not going to stop what you're doing. Like, oh, I might say something wrong. These guys are professionals, and when it gets time to get back to business, they're just getting back to business. And it's a true showcase of who they are and what they are. But I'm not worried about Mike Tomlin coming off bad in any way. So he's going to speak to a player the way he speaks to a player. And they've been doing it. Gosh, I would love you to watch the show. And especially maybe from the last couple of years, whether it be the Miami Dolphins in season, whether it be the Colts or Cardinals in season, where they just started doing this, you'll see that I don't think much changes. I think the training camp ones, they're more of a show because they know the cameras are there and they know they can show off a little bit. Like John Gruden, my gosh, knock if you hear me. I mean, like he would do that 7 times because he was putting on a show. This is differently. I think it's going to be authentic, and I don't think Mike Tomlin's going to change a thing because Mike Tomlin is professional every step of the way.
Well, Bryan, real quick, might sound stupid, but I've never watched a full episode. How long is an episode? An hour?
Yeah, like 48 minutes to an hour because there's no commercials. So yeah, about like 56, something like that.
So when you think they're covering 4 teams, I feel like this is going to be more like the Inside the NFL than it is a training camp Hard Knocks. Because I have seen episodes of training camp Hard Knocks. I've not seen a lot of in-season Hard Knocks where they're mic'd up. Like there's that famous video from, I think, 2010, Marquise Pouncey's rookie year, where he's coming off the field and Tomlin's yelling at him because the clock's running and he's fighting and Pouncey's jawing back at Tomlin. I think we're going to get probably more of that type of stuff in game. And then we'll also be getting some meeting stuff. I think it's going to be fine. And honestly, this is one time where I'm just going to say as a fan, it's entertainment. And so we want to be entertained. And I think it's going to, what I think or what I do in terms of watching it, if I have an opportunity to watch it, I will. I don't have the channel currently. A lot of people have hit me up on Twitter like, I'll give you my password. I'll give you my password.
You've got my password, both of you. No, trust me. It's going to happen.
I will watch it for sure because I think it'll be entertaining. And I just love that inside the look. But I don't want to spend too much time on it.
I'm going to say one last thing, Dave. I promise you, you've been around me a long time. You trust me. I know you trust me. You are going to go back in time and probably just erase the show because you're gonna love this. You're gonna say, you're actually
you might not know me as well as you want because the more people tell me I need to watch something, the more likely I am.
Yeah, but both of you are like that with Star Wars and Die Hard, respectively. I know that, but sometimes you just gotta say, "Damn it, Brian's right." And this is one that you're gonna be like, "All right, I don't want to admit it, but this is really good."
Dave, any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
But don't be stubborn, David.
He's not going to watch it just like I'm not watching Star Wars or anything like that. So,
cheat yourself, boys. Cheat yourself.
Oh, I will watch the Hard Knocks. I will tell you, if I have access to it, I will watch it because I find it entertaining. Sports is really the only thing I watch on television anymore.
No, Star Wars, you're cheating yourself. Just like Dave's cheating himself with Die Hard.
All right, I do want to give an opportunity as all eyes will be on the Steelers in 2024. I want to give Dave an opportunity to plug his show that ran this morning with one Greg Benevent as we talk about quarterbacks. And that's ultimately going to be a way that everyone's going to be glued to the Steelers in training camp and the preseason with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. I want to get to Le'Veon Bell's tweet here in a second. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain it. But Dave, you talked about expectations this morning with Greg. I want to give you an opportunity to plug the show.
Yeah, hey, make sure you go back and check that out. It's on our audio only side. It's Pittsburgh Standard Time. Myself, Greg Benevent. We're just, it's the first time the two of us had ever done a show together. That was show number 1. So you could see the starting point. I hope your bar wasn't set too high because ours wasn't. But then again, we're also not setting the bar too high for the Steelers quarterbacks this year. That's what we talked about. We expect there to be an increase in scoring. We expect there to be an increase in passing touchdowns. But along with that, you're going to get some of the negativity that comes with that. Will there probably be more interceptions? Most likely. Will there be more sacks surrendered and possibly fumbles? Most likely. But you need the good to outpace the bad significantly in order for it to pay off more than what the Steelers have had in the last several seasons.
All right. So, Bryan, are you familiar with what I was talking about as the Le'Veon Bell tweet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I am not familiar, so please
Dave,
let me
are
know.
you?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
All right. This is great then. This is me introducing you to this. So, Le'Veon Bell, everyone knows the route god. Route god is a receiving coach who works with receivers on, footwork, route running, developing the full route tree. Some of the receivers that have gone to him religiously, Deontay Johnson went to him. Everyone got real excited when George Pickens was with him this offseason. And so he always takes videos of his players that he's working with as they go through their drills. And Le'Veon Bell obviously follows him. And so when he posted a video saying that Justin Fields was throwing to the receivers at this practice they were running, Le'Veon Bell made it very clear all these throws look late, like really, really late. And you should have seen the comments. Oh my gosh. And they weren't bashing Le'Veon Bell. They were bashing Justin Fields. This guy's trash. This is why he was traded for nothing from Chicago. Look at this. This is awful. It took the route god himself, and I call him that because that's his Twitter handle. He had to quote tweet the same video and say, listen, he was working with quarterback coaches and was going through his progressions. And that's why this was not just about the receivers. This was also about the quarterback getting work in. But again, here we are in the silly season, something I talk about on my Friday Let's Ride, and people are just running with it. So I guess I want to ask you, Bryan, I'll start with you. As training camp approaches, here we're almost 1 month away from the Steelers reporting to St. Vincent College. What do you think the narratives are going to be surrounding these quarterbacks as they get to Latrobe?
The narratives are going to be, first of all, exactly what you said about Justin Fields. They got him for nothing. The big narrative that we're hearing is you have the worst quarterback situation in Pittsburgh because you have two teams that didn't want them. Well, guess what? The San Diego Chargers, when they were the San Diego Chargers, didn't want Drew Brees. They wanted Phillip Rivers. And they made it clear that they wanted Phillip Rivers. And they let him walk. I tell you what, who won more championships? Who went to more championship games? Drew Brees did. So I kind of bring that up. I love the fact, I think it's 28-6 or 28-7 touchdowns to interceptions from Russell Wilson. That
26-8.
26-8. Okay.
Yep.
Good. 26-8.
I just did that for the show.
So that's plus 18.
Yeah.
That's plus 18. And at the end of last season, in November and December, that was a hot football team. That was one of the top 5 hottest football teams. And then they sat him down because your coach didn't like him. Look, I got to tell you, I don't have much respect for Sean Payton. He lost a year of his coaching life, and he did not hire this guy. If you're in the business world, and this is something that happens a whole heck of a lot, if you go through a manager change and the manager comes in, you're going to have more problems with that manager being an incumbent than you are going to have if that manager brought you in. They want their own people. And that's the bottom line to it. He was not wanted by Sean Payton. Sean Payton did not give him any opportunity to shine. And even though he was shining with that winning streak towards the end, he got benched. For what? Was it Trevor Simeon? No, it was the former Stidham. It was Jared Stidham. And that's who they went with. And they still don't, they ate a whole lot of money. So we're holding on to that narrative that Russell Wilson stinks because of this and because he wasn't wanted. You ever hear the phrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure? Well, we've seen it a few places. My favorite team Jeff thinks my favorite team is the Las Vegas Raiders.
This is what it is.
I was listening to one of their podcasts this week with the great Hondo Carpenter, and because I have to, but you know who they're calling a superstar for their team? Robert Spillane. He is considered a superstar in silver and black. He was nothing close to a superstar. They would have loved to have kept him here. I talked to a girl that was a Raiders fan. She goes, Robert Spillane is awesome for us. Yeah, he wasn't in Pittsburgh. He went to a place where he could do better. I really think that Russell Wilson came to a place where he can do better, and it's going to fit him so much more. And they are going to build. Arthur Smith is not just bringing in his Atlanta system. He's bringing in a system and building one around the Pittsburgh Steelers and building one around Russell Wilson. Same thing for Justin Fields. They're going to find a way to make him maybe a weapon, or they're going to bring him in just like out of the blue. Russell Wilson goes off for a play and Justin Fields is in there and the defense is going, oh my God, whoa. We're not ready for this. And they won't be. So there's going to be so many things. So the best thing is for people to keep on bashing the Pittsburgh Steelers situation at quarterback, because you know how we love the chip. It's not a poker chip. It's not a tortilla chip. It's not a cow chip. It's a chip that it's the winning chip, because it makes this guy angry. And who else? I mean, how many times have you said in your life, anybody in the live chat, if you're listening in your car right now, Jeff, Dave, how many times have you said, you underestimate me? I'll show you. Russell Wilson wants to show you. Justin Fields wants to show you. And guess what? These guys don't have a contract next year. You don't think that they want to play for their deal next year? Oh my goodness. One of these guys is most likely going to be the starter in Pittsburgh next year and get a bag of money. They're planning on doing it because think about this. This was going to be Kenny Pickett's third year. They were going to have to pay Kenny Pickett pretty soon anyways if he worked out. So they were expecting to go ahead and pay a quarterback. And so one of these guys you could still get at a valuable contract and a team-friendly deal possibly as well. So don't read into anything that they did not go ahead and exercise a fifth-year option for Justin Fields. That goes the same thing. We're not talking about running back, but don't worry about the fact that they didn't give a fifth-year deal to Najee Harris. Those guys are still on the radar for next year. It's just business right now, and Omar Khan said it. So I'm not worried about these guys. I'm ready to sit back, just like I'm going to say to Dave Schofield on December 3rd and December 10th. I told you it was going to be good. I'm going to say the same thing about these quarterbacks. My gosh, I am more excited than I've ever been for a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback room, and I have never seen it in my 40-some years. I've never seen it where it was a complete turnover. And I even think Kyle Allen is going to be one of the best third-string quarterbacks in Pittsburgh in a long time, too. And we might not see much of him. Man, I'm loving this.
All right, Dave, what about what do you think about the narratives heading into camp with the quarterbacks?
Well, I kind of addressed that some this morning and everything, that with there are some people that feel that both quarterbacks are awful and it's not going to matter. And there are some fans that feel that both quarterbacks are great. And what are you going to do? And then there's others that are more where I align, where there's pros and cons of both quarterbacks. And I'm just hoping that one of them really steps up and plays well so the Steelers can have some quality quarterback play. It really, I could use the line I despise. Could it be any worse? Because I really hate that line. Because it can be. It could be. You could get a lot of turnovers, which is one thing that you didn't get a ton of from the quarterbacks last year for the Steelers. I just the narratives and everything, you're going to see Team Russ and Team Justin, and you're going to have various things. I just want to say I want to be Team Steelers. I just want them to have a great quarterback that they can put on the field. I don't care about the name that's on the back. Just give me good quarterback play, and I'm going to be ecstatic.
All right. Well said, both of you. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to answer a fan question. We're going to get into some trivia before we end the show. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, welcome back. It is time for the second half of the show. This is normally in the in-season when we would do our predictions and we talk about the odds and all that good stuff.
Over-under?
None of that. Yeah, over-under game. So Kyle Smith, said he would have done this with a super chat question. He asked, is it Ramondre Stevens? I think that's how you say the name.
Stevens or Stevenson?
Stevenson.
Stevenson. He said, does it affect your opinion at all of Najee's declined fifth-year option? So this was one Jeremy Jerome Betts put in our Slack channel today. The Patriots and their starting running back, Ramondre Stevenson, have agreed to terms on a new deal as he gets 4 years, $36 million on his extension. The deal includes $17 million of guaranteed money. So the question is, does that somehow make you wonder, did the Steelers make the right move? How does it impact Najee Harris? Dave, we'll start with you.
Well, I kept saying that I didn't think the Najee Harris fifth-year option was very expensive. I thought it made sense from a financial standpoint to do that. But what it almost feels like, based on everything that we've heard coming out of there, that the Steelers used the fifth-year option more as a reward. And they didn't feel that Najee deserved to be rewarded because he's been available. That's been great. Does he give you great yards per attempt? No, he doesn't. He just gives you a lot of attempts, a big workload. So, to me, this makes it seem like I don't see Najee Harris staying in Pittsburgh after this year because of something like that. The Steelers, why would they touch anything like that when they wouldn't touch the $6.7 million that would have been otherwise?
That's a good point. What about you, Brian? What do you think?
You ever go to the closet, the kitchen cupboard, and say, "Oh man, I got to get some Kraft mac and cheese. I have a hankering for it." So you look. Oh gosh, we're out of Kraft. Hey, there's some Velveeta. And so that's kind of the situation that the Steelers have right now, because they have Velveeta in Jaylen Warren. They do not have a bare cupboard if Najee Harris leaves. I still don't think they want him to go, but that's not a situation where they're completely screwed if he goes either. In New England, Ramondre Harrison, my gosh, he is grandma's mac and cheese. He is like Bob Evans brand. He is the only thing they've got. They don't have any backup there. They have nobody else. That team is kind of, you come across a train wreck and the train comes the other way and doesn't realize that there's a train wreck and wrecks into that train. That's what the Patriots are becoming, because all those years of Belichick and greatness, well, they're depleted. It's completely depleted. That is not a good situation right now. It's going to take a long time. I think they're building around Ramondre Stevenson and had to do it. The Steelers did not have to do this because they have other things. And Afton Ford says Stofers. Yes, but he's Stofers, and the Steelers they might have Stofers and Bob Evans, and not even Velveeta or Kraft. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I think the thing for the Steelers, the sticking point was the guaranteed money. So it was just under $7 million, which isn't a lot. But if they wanted to sign Najee to another deal, they could move that number around. They could get it south of that. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think that I predicted that incorrectly. I thought they were going to pick up the 5th-year option. It made sense.
I did too.
But they obviously went in a different direction. Dave, you want to say anything?
Yeah. So if you want to compare Ramondre Stevenson to Najee Harris, what you see the biggest difference is Stevenson has much better yards per attempt in his 3 years in the NFL because they both came in 2021. Stevenson was what? He was I'm trying to look here. Come on. He was a 4th-round pick. So he was a 4th-round pick from the same draft as Najee Harris. His yards per attempt in his 3 years, 4.6, 5.0, 4.0. Where Najee Harris is 3.9, 3.8, 4.1. So, I mean, so Najee Harris had better yards per attempt last year, barely. But where it makes a difference is Najee Harris has much better numbers when it comes to yards per game because Stevenson was 50.5, 61.2, 51.6, where Najee was 70.6, 60.8, and 60.9. So when you look at some of those numbers, you're looking at a Najee Harris that's saying, hey, we were drafted the same year. He was three rounds behind me, and I put up better numbers. Why should I take less than what he's getting?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Bryan, any final thoughts there?
Now, you know what? I like Ramondre Stevenson a lot, but I still contend that that's all that they've got going for them right now. I love that we got some stat geekiness there right now. That was amazing, Dave. So thank you. I didn't know that stuff. But no, I think really you just got to look at situations right now. And the Steelers are a completely different team as far as situation than the New England Patriots.
All right. So, Bryan, you still have no trivia, correct?
I do not have trivia tonight.
All right. Dave, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to ruffle some. Bryan was trying to ruffle my feathers a bunch about how he guarantees he's going to be right about that show on his birthday. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, you're just stubborn.
Feathers. No, I'm going to ruffle some feathers because I'm going to talk about one of the biggest draft busts in recent Steelers history. What would that be, Jeff?
Senquez Golson.
That would be Senquez Golson. Because he was a 2nd-round draft pick that never appeared in a game. Now, before the AFL-NFL merger, it wasn't that uncommon to have draft picks, even high draft picks, not actually play for the team. They would go to the other league. Back in my goodness, the first draft pick the Steelers ever had was
William Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare never played for the Steelers. So my question is this. Did you realize that Senquez Golson, it was not the first 2nd-round pick since the merger that didn't play any games in the NFL, meaning Steelers 2nd-round draft pick. There were 4 others, 2nd-round draft picks that never played. Jeff, I'm sorry. I know you're probably going to be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But do you know any of those 4? I'll give you a hint. One of them earned 2 Super Bowl rings and never appeared in a game. Bryan, do you got anything?
There was a guy in like 76 or 77, and I can't out of Notre Dame, Dave, Fry or Fiery or
that was 78.
Okay.
If you're talking Willie Fry.
Willie Fry, okay.
He's the one that earned 2 Super Bowl rings.
Wow.
He was dealing with injuries his first 2 seasons and was only in the NFL for 3, but never appeared in a regular season game. That's 1978.
Could you give me, was it before 70? Could you give me years?
There was 2 that were before 78 and 1 that was since. I'll give you the years if you want the exact year.
Give me the years, please.
Okay,
I
1973. 1973.
No.
Defensive back who suffered a career-ending knee injury in rookie camp.
So the first round pick in 73 was JT Thomas, I think.
Yes, it was.
So they went defensive back again. Dave, I don't know.
They did. His name is, if I say it right, Ken Ferris. I guess it's Phares out of
that would be
Mississippi
Ferris.
State.
I've heard of him, but just reading. I know nothing about
him. Then in the second round of 1976, when they actually had 3 second-round picks, one of them never appeared in a game. He was a center.
I looked at all these when I did the DeLorean where I was like changing picks, and I did that back in 17. Was he from Notre Dame? Somebody was from Notre Dame.
He was from McNeese State. Willie Fry was from Notre Dame. You were right on that.
Okay, good. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This was James Files.
When I said fiery or Fry, I was thinking more of James.
You were thinking him
than I was Fry.
Well, you said Notre Dame, so I thought it was Fry.
Okay, yeah. So, but Files, because it's not spelled Files, it's Fie. Yeah. Okay.
Files. And he was a center, but they put him on IR early in his rookie year. The next season, they tried to have him play defensive line. But he was surprised he was drafted because he'd had a knee injury in college that didn't allow him to play defense anymore. That's why he stayed to offense. Then the Steelers tried to put him in defense his second year, and it was just a disaster. They ended up trading him to the Giants, was only there a couple weeks, worked out for other teams, but couldn't pass a physical because of his knee. And then the last one was in 1982.
Oh, so Abercrombie went first that year. He was a tackle, Arizona State. I don't know his first name. Myers, I think it was Myers.
It was Meyer, John Meyer out of Arizona State. You are correct. And with him, but he was a tackle, but they tried to play him once again. They tried to switch sides of the ball, and his knees couldn't handle it. So all of these guys were due to injury.
Wow.
So it's just kind of interesting to see how it all worked out.
That's crazy. I mean, we know Sanquez Bolson was the worst.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
and
the
Steelers, I'll just say one other one I was going to do. The Steelers had 1 second-round draft pick in the 80s that didn't even appear in double-digit games.
Was it Kolodziejski?
That is correct.
He got hurt in 84.
Yes. Do you remember what happened with that?
Yeah, it was like a crazy knee injury. Someone else hit him.
Oh, but Bryan, this was your game. This was when they were taking on the undefeated San Francisco 49ers.
Yep.
And he actually was like a 1st and 20. And he told Chuck Noll, "Hey, run this play to me." He was just a rookie tight end, but it put Swan and Lips on one side and him on the other, and he got single coverage. Had to come back for the ball because it was way underthrown. Had to reach back, scoop it up, and his foot was planted, and his knee just got bent. Gave him a 1st and goal at the 5 where they scored to tie it, and then they won on the interception. But that was his last play, was catching that ball to set them up at 1st and goal. Now he's the CEO of a makeup company.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
You don't get that every day.
That's true. Good stuff. All right,
So,
let's finish up with some final thoughts, Bryan. It's been a good show.
All right, so my final thoughts are simple. It's so great. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. It is so great to, wherever you go, get a chance to talk black and gold, because anywhere you go in this country, even out of the country, you're going to find Steeler fans. I remember in 2017 when I was in England, I found black and gold. I found Steeler fans, and that was fun to talk about. One of my favorite memories was actually finding a Cleveland Browns fan. It was in 2006. I got engaged to my wife, well, my now wife, and so we were in Disney World, and we got to be in the parade. So we're in the parade. And because we got engaged and we're waving everybody, and it was right after the Super Bowl, 20 all those years without a ring. 26 years later, they finally win a ring, and here I am with my Steelers world champion sweatshirt, and we're going down, happiest place on earth. We're waving, and then I see a man with his middle finger extended to me, yelling, "F you! I'm a Cleveland fan." And I'm like, that was the greatest moment of my life, because I was like, that's it. I'm still making a Steeler fan angry. So I'm away on business this week. I'm having a great time just talking sports with everybody, and it's fun. And then I meet up with a guy that has watched us here. And then I look down in the live chat, and my new friend, Bryan, says, "Hey, Bryan, come on. We're hungry. Let's go to dinner." So I promised those guys, the Denver fan, the Philadelphia Eagles fan, a Chicago Bears fan, they're all waiting on me for dinner. And I promised those guys, if you say something, if you watch my show while you're waiting for me, because they delay dinner, that I will go ahead and I'll give you a shout out. So I know we don't normally do shout outs, but shout out to my guys, Roger, Sam, Bryan, who am I missing? Shane. And I think I got everybody that's waiting on. Oh, Justin. So an Alabama fan, which I gave him crap because I hate Nick Saban because he screwed me over a rental car. And I talked to him about that for a long time. So I can't wait to go eat dinner with you, but it's so great. The universal language of NFL football, the universal language of sport, it's something beautiful. And it's something that we have as a Steelers fan. So when you're getting all bent out of shape right now in June because your glass is half empty, my gosh, embrace the fact that good old BAD has a half full glass and that's filling up quick. Go Steelers.
All right, Dave, final thoughts?
Hey, Bryan just made me think of something. It is extremely rare that I am not repping something of the Pittsburgh Steelers when I am out, because it's identifiable. I've got kids in my son's swim lesson saying, "My mom likes the Steelers." I was really tempted to say, "Here, give her my card," or something like that. But also, don't forget, if not just repping Steelers gear, whether it's hats, shirts, shorts. I think I have hat, shirt, and shorts on right now that are all Steelers. One of them is my wonderful SCN shirt. And as you can now see on the bottom of the screen, for those of you watching here live, that is how you could also order your SCN gear, your Ride or Die Crew stuff that Jeff has, all kinds of good stuff there. If you need more stuff to rep the Pittsburgh Steelers or even Steel Curd Network, make sure you check that out, because I know I'm getting ready to go on vacation here in a couple weeks. Gotta be sorry. The flag will disappear from behind me, because that's got to be flying at the beach to make sure that we are representing Go Steelers.
All right. Well said. Good show, guys. We'll be back next week for another Steelers preview. We'll be inside 1 month until the players report to training camp. That's always exciting. But Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
See you next week, everyone. See you.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.